Have you ever wondered why some men seem to effortlessly attract respect, love, and admiration, while others chase endlessly and still end up confused? They work harder, they earn more money, they try to say the right things, yet something always seems to be missing. The truth is, what most men believe about women has been shaped by movies, social media, dating myths, and the opinions of people who are just as confused as they are. These ideas create frustration because they teach men to focus on the wrong things. The biggest misunderstanding isn't about women at all, it's about human nature. Most men think attraction begins with appearance. They believe that if they become rich enough, handsome enough, or successful enough, every relationship problem will disappear. While those qualities can certainly help open doors, they are rarely the reason someone stays. People don't stay because of perfection. They stay because of how they feel when they're with you. That's a lesson many people don't learn until it's too late. Imagine a man standing in front of a mirror every morning. He spends hours building muscles, buying expensive clothes, and trying to become someone he believes women want. But deep inside, he's afraid of rejection, afraid of not being enough, afraid that if someone truly knew him, they would leave. That fear silently controls everything he does. Ironically, the more he hides that fear behind fake confidence, the easier it becomes for others to sense it. Real confidence is quiet. It doesn't need to announce itself. It doesn't demand attention. It doesn't beg for approval. It simply exists. And that's what many people misunderstand. One of the greatest mistakes men make is believing they need to convince someone to choose them. Healthy relationships don't begin with convincing. They begin with connection. When you're constantly trying to impress someone, you're communicating something without realizing it. You're saying, I don't believe I'm enough unless you approve of me. That's a dangerous mindset because it gives away your power. The strongest men don't seek validation everywhere they go. They create value wherever they are. Think about the people you've admired throughout your life. Were they always the loudest? Probably not. Were they always the richest? Not necessarily. What made them memorable was something deeper. Their presence, their calmness, their certainty. They knew who they were. That certainty becomes magnetic because people naturally trust those who trust themselves. Many men confuse kindness with weakness. Kindness isn't weakness. People-pleasing is. There's a massive difference. Kindness says, I respect you. People-pleasing says, please don't leave me. One comes from strength, the other comes from fear. Healthy relationships require kindness. Unhealthy relationships feed on desperation. Another misunderstanding is believing that women want perfection. Nobody wants perfection. Perfection feels artificial. People are drawn toward authenticity. They appreciate honesty more than flawless performances. Think about your closest friendships. Were they built because someone never made mistakes or because they were genuine? Real connection always grows from authenticity. The world constantly tells men to hide their emotions. Never cry. Never struggle. Never show weakness. But emotional maturity isn't pretending nothing affects you. It's learning how to respond instead of react. There's enormous strength in self-control. A man who can remain calm during conflict often earns far more respect than someone who always needs to win every argument. Let's imagine two different men. The first man becomes angry whenever someone disagrees with him. His emotions control him. His reactions are unpredictable. The second man listens carefully. He thinks before speaking. He doesn't need to dominate every conversation. Who would you trust more? Most people instinctively choose the second man, not because he's louder, because he's emotionally secure. Confidence is not about believing you're better than everyone else. It's believing you'll be okay, even if someone doesn't choose you. That's freedom. Many people chase relationships because they hope someone else will fix the emptiness they already feel inside. But relationships magnify who you already are. They don't replace self-worth. If you don't respect yourself, eventually that insecurity begins affecting every interaction. One of life's greatest paradoxes is this. The harder you chase approval, the faster it runs away. The more comfortable you become with yourself, the more naturally people enjoy being around you. This doesn't only apply to dating, it applies to friendships, business, leadership, parenting, life. People are attracted to emotional stability. Imagine walking into a room. You don't need everyone to notice you. You don't need to prove anything. You simply carry yourself with quiet confidence. You smile, you listen, you speak thoughtfully. Without realizing it, you've already created a stronger impression than someone desperately trying to become the center of attention. Presence always outlasts performance. Another major misunderstanding is believing attraction is something you can force. It isn't. Attraction grows where respect exists. Respect grows where character exists. Character grows through discipline. Everything begins within, not outside. Many men spend years studying how to understand women. Far fewer spend time understanding themselves. Yet self-awareness changes everything. Ask yourself, why do rejection words hurt so much? Why do certain situations make you anxious? Why do you constantly compare yourself to others? Those answers reveal far more about your future relationships than any dating advice ever could. Here's something powerful. The strongest man in the room usually isn't the one talking the most. He's the one who doesn't need to. His confidence isn't borrowed from compliments. It comes from integrity. He keeps promises. He respects others. He respects himself. That combination creates something money can't buy. Trust. Trust is the foundation of every meaningful relationship. Without trust, attraction eventually fades. Without trust, love becomes uncertainty. Without trust, communication becomes impossible. Trust isn't created through grand romantic gestures. It's built through consistent actions repeated over time. Small promises, small moments, small acts of honesty, repeated again and again. Modern society often teaches shortcuts. Say this, text this, use this trick. Real relationships aren't built on tricks, they're built on truth. The goal isn't learning how to manipulate people. The goal is becoming someone worthy of genuine connection. There's a huge difference. Imagine building a beautiful house on weak foundations. At first, everything looks perfect. Then storms arrive, small cracks appear, eventually everything collapses. Relationships work the same way. Looks may start the conversation. Character determines whether the conversation continues years later. Here's the reality most people never hear. Women aren't looking for someone who's perfect. They're looking for someone who is emotionally mature, someone dependable, someone honest, someone who respects boundaries, someone who continues growing instead of blaming everyone else for his problems. These qualities aren't attractive because they're mysterious. They're attractive because they're rare. So before asking, how do I understand women? Ask yourself something more important. Am I becoming the kind of man who deserves a healthy relationship? That question changes everything. Because when you focus on becoming stronger emotionally, mentally, and morally, your relationships improve as a natural consequence. Not because you've learned clever techniques, but because you've become someone people genuinely enjoy trusting. And that's where this journey truly begins.